so happened that Marco Polo was ready to go home because they knew Kubla Khan was about to die. And in fact, he only had about 1 year left to live. And they wanted to get their riches out before. They didn't know what's going to happen. This is a new dynasty. They've been in total control of China for one generation, and they didn't know what was going to happen. And also, just before that, there had been a bad sign because Kubla Khan had tried to invade Japan a second time, and he had failed a second time. And the second time, I think, again, he had a practical purpose, and that was he had this whole huge Song army that now he's the new enlightened Mongol who doesn't slaughter. So what is he going to do? They're not reliable. They're not safe. So he sends a bunch of them up into the Amur River of what's now the Russian Far East, or we call Siberian English, but the Russian Far East, the Amur River. He sent expeditions up into Tibet exploring options up there, but there wasn't enough room or enough agricultural area for a huge military colony. But most of his ships were loaded with former prisoners of the war from the Song dynasty, and they were not armed. They had hoes and implements for farming. He wanted to create, obviously, an military agricultural farm in Japan to help feed northern China, because it was very important, just as they were doing with the Amur River, but it was more complicated. So, again, they lost. They didn't have it, and part of the reason is that the expedition was massive. And they organized it in the Mongol principles of left wing, right wing. This didn't work at sea because the left wing is from Korea. There's Korean ships built up there. The right wing is from southern China, mostly, with ships built down there. They're not the same. They have a head, but there's no center point. Genghis Khan always had the goal. They called it GOL, the goal, the center, or QOL, actually, goal. But anyway, he had the center in command. No, he sent the two without a clear, and they were arguing with each other, not cooperating, not helping each other, sabotaging each other. They get there, and once again, they have the same problems, even though they've come with lots of grenades this time. Again, the grenades are exploding. They're scaring the horses. You know, it's impressive, and a lot of silk screens are made later showing these impressive battles and all, but they lost. And again, a typhoon happened to be the final destruction of the Navy. But I think Japan had defeated the Mongols, I would say. Japanese deserve credit for that victory. And then the sinking of the ships was more caused by the typhoon. But already the Japanese had developed good strategies while the Mongols had been away. They knew how the Mongols fought. And they knew that at night they could fire flaming arrows at the ships, set them on fire, and they were doing great damage. So again, Kubla Khan lost the invasion of Japan. But the soldiers were gone. They drowned. He didn't kill them off. It wasn't his deliberate plan, but the problem was solved. It's one of those ironies of history that it's hard to quite understand. So this had happened, but then Kubla Khan was coming to near the end of life, and Marco Polo and those wanted to get out. They're ready to go. And Kubla Khan allowed them to sail on this expedition with Höchstchen was her name, the Princess Höchstchen, to go to Hormuz. And so they went, and that began a whole system of trade back and forth, back and forth. Kubla Khan died soon after that. His grandson, who's not so well respected in history because he's often called a drunk, but his name was Timur Enchetu. But he was a drunk when he was young, but his grandfather had him caned a couple times in public, and he cured him of drinking. And actually, he was not a drunk later on. And he reassembled the Mongol Empire. He did. The Golden Horde declared loyalty to him, recognized him as Great Han, as emperor of the whole empire. The Chagatai of Central Asia, they declared loyalty to him. The Ilkhanate was already loyal to him. They all declared loyalty. He had reassembled the empire, and he had the greatest navy in the world, and he sent out envoys to every place they had attacked or traded with to say, That era is over. We're no longer attacking anybody. We're changing from conquest to commerce.